Hi, I'm Jen. Welcome back to our community. If you are new, this is another episode of Wellness Unfiltered, where I try out wellness experiences and workouts around New York City to find out what's worth your time and your money. Today we were trying out a workout for your relationships at Peoplehood, which is a company founded by the founders of SoulCycle. So let's go inside and find out what it's all about and try it ourselves. Okay, so I'm here with Connor, the expert on all things Peoplehood, and they are going to tell us everything we need to know.
I will say Peoplehood is a place to get better at peopling. And really what that means is we help people with their relationships in life, we help people with their relationships with themselves, and we do it by giving people skills that help them communicate better, listen differently, and also self-reflect, become self-aware, and build sort of an awareness of how they show up for the people in their lives, whether it's at work, or at home, or with your friends. We really understand that we live in a time that we do so much communication with our thumbs and through screens, so the opportunity to practice looking someone in the eyes or meeting a stranger are so far and few between. So we really help people in our Gather space to just sort of practice those skills and gain a broader perspective and practice the skills that make us human.
How does coming in alone in this room with people that you don't know help your relationships on the outside world? And what is the how behind it? Because the messaging in theory sounds great, but how are we doing it?
Such a great question. One of the studies that we've worked with most closely is the Harvard Human Development Study. It's one of the oldest studies, and its conclusion is that the quality of our life is based on the quality of our relationships. So all of the Blue Zone experts out there that are studying how people live a long time, longevity experts like Dr. Peter Attia, they know that community and relationships are so important. Now, it's really hard to practice with the people that you know, maybe that you've had a long relationship with, because you've already built your rapport, you have your habits. So you can come with a friend to a gather, you can come with your coworkers, you can come with anyone, but most times it's a group of strangers. And two things happen. One, it's an unbiased audience, so most people are more comfortable sharing personal things or making self-realizations in front of a stranger because they don't know you. So it's easy to just share because there's no expectation. And then the other really beautiful thing about practicing with strangers is you gain new perspectives and you watch yourself sort of undo your preconceived notions or stereotypes of certain people, whether it's age or demographic or background, which is a really amazing thing. And we do have a couple different formats. So Peoplehood is for individuals, anybody can come to that. We do have Couplehood, where people will come with their significant other. And basically it's like 60 minutes of date night, where it's like facilitated conversation, you can talk about topics, and it's time that you can really just connect and not do the laundry list of what are we getting done this week, what are we planning, if you have kids, that managing that schedule. So that's also an opportunity. And then motherhood, we have some cohorts for people who have shared identity, shared experience, so they can also sort of relate on that commonality.
So you come in as couples, and then do you kind of break out in your couples?
Yeah,
or
you
you're
stay in your couple.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to Couplehood. Okay,
Yeah,
let's walk through the studio.
Yeah, let's do it.
Talk to me about who's guiding these sessions, because it's not licensed therapists, and I feel like that's intentional. So talk to me about that.
Yes, so the guides are not therapists. It's really a peer-to-peer experience. One of the founding parts of the Gather experience is that there's no interrupting, there's no crosstalk, there's no advice giving, there's no opinion sharing. It's really just a place to sort of let what's on your chest come off, to vent, to get it out, to sort of self-explore, self-realize. And it's not about someone telling you what to do, giving you their opinion. It's really just an opportunity to learn from your peers.
It's holding space rather than therapizing.
Correct.
Okay.
And the guides are really trained facilitators. We're very educated on the different skills of active listening, of nonverbal communication. And so we sort of just set the tone, set the structure, we create a playlist, we make a vibe.
Cool.
And just really create an environment that people can feel comfortable sharing. And we also lead breath work, and there's certain things that sort of help ease people into the, it can be nerve-wracking talking to people. The whole thing is very structured, so you're never left out in open water being what do I do, what do I say? The guide will always model first. So they'll give an example, they'll share personally first, which I think helps open up the room and permission the room to feel comfortable enough to share. And the people who have been before always end up sharing first, so you have the most time to process. We always do breath work in the beginning, sometimes some stretching, and it just helps you tap into your parasympathetic nervous system, calms you down, and gets you more like available and open to connecting with the group. Okay, so this is the gather room.
Okay.
And as you'll see, the chairs are numbered. So seats are usually assigned. You can sit at number 1.
Okay.
And I will sit here. So I'd usually introduce the theme.
Okay.
We'd sit down, and then we would do a little bit of like meditation and breath work just to sort of like land in the space, land in your seat.
It's kind of powerful doing it in a small, intimate setting with strangers, mostly, and just setting the tone and like getting your energy all aligned before you dive in. I love it.
Yeah, there's something beautiful about like uniting and like breath with strangers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try it out.
Okay, so usually I would tell people they can just find a comfortable seat. If you want to put palms down, palms up. Some people like to hold themselves. And then I would tell people to just take a scan from head to heels, noticing where you're holding tension. Maybe it's between the brows or in the jaw or the neck and shoulders. Taking a breath in through the nose, filling all the way up and letting it out of the mouth. And then taking a moment to notice the senses, noticing if you feel warm or cool. And then I always lead through a couple rounds of box breathing. It's a practice that the Navy SEALs use. It's one of the quickest and easiest ways to get into your parasympathetic nervous system. So all you have to do is inhale for a 4 count, hold for a 4 count, exhale for a 4 count, and then hold on empty for a 4 count. So we go around and we do a group round. It's usually like introductory. So you say your name, one thing true for you. And then we would do another group round, which usually goes a little bit deeper, meaning you have more time to share. And it could be like, what's the high and low of your week right now? How are you doing really? And then everybody goes around. And then we do what's called a breakout.
Okay.
Which is where we really practice the main skill of peoplehood, which is higher listening. I personally believe listening is a super underutilized tool. We talk about how conversations can just feel like 2 monologues where one person's just waiting to say what they want to say, but they're not actually listening.
Totally.
And it's beautiful because it's like, in some senses, people are just so excited to share about themselves, but we miss the chance to just listen. Mm-hmm. And so what higher listening is it's 2 parts. The first part's waiting it out. So in a breakout, it's 3 minutes to share and 3 minutes to listen. So I would get 3 minutes to answer a prompt, and you just have to sit there and listen. Mm-hmm. And then we'll switch. And then you get 3 minutes to share, and I get 3 minutes to listen.
I bet that's so hard for some people.
It's so hard for some people, because the way that our brains are wired is it's like every 14, 16 seconds, you think of how you feel about what someone's saying. So it's like, oh my gosh, me too, and I went there, and did you try the calamari? And like, it's just like, you start interjecting, which is great. That's how we connect the dots.
It's also hard to care about a stranger.
Totally.
So like hearing 3 minutes from a stranger, you might be like, all right, I literally don't care, but it kind of is a nice challenge as to like, why don't we just listen to new people that we're meeting and we could learn something about ourselves or someone else's perspective. So it is an interesting challenge.
I like to frame it as like, get curious. Mm-hmm. And because there's always something that you don't know and that you will learn from a stranger. And then also sometimes, like in a cheesy way, I'm always like, be an archaeologist of like someone else's story. Like uncover things. And like the interesting thing is like, it's such an undoing of your own expectations and thought. And I have watched some of the most like unlikely people connect.
I love
like
that.
A 19-year-old woman with like a 60-year-old man. And like it's like so like kind of heartwarming in a way to just see that I'm like, oh my gosh, like the peoplehood is peoplehooding, because these people who would never have spoken to each other in a million years are now finding like commonality.
I guess just on a micro level, if someone's interested, is there a membership? Is it class by class, a la carte? Like how can someone experience Peoplehood?
So if you go to peoplehood.com, you can look at our schedule and sign up for a gather. You just have to make an account. We always let people do their first one for free. We have cohort groups. So our digital detox, which is a 4-week-long program, you would join a reoccurring group. So you'd meet with the same group every Wednesday night at 6:30 or something. That's the one that I lead.
And is virtual just a Zoom room of the same thing?
So
or?
we developed and built a platform. It's similar to Zoom, but it has like, I don't know, a facelift. It's a little bit prettier, it's a little bit nicer. There's always music, which is nice. It just like makes it feel a bit more relaxed and like a little less sterile. But it's the same experience. And what's also cool is then you can close your computer and like move away. And I think what's nice is it feels like, I lead virtual and I also go to virtual. It's a very different experience, but they're both really special in their own way.
Okay, it's a few days after I got that whole tour of Peoplehood, got the whole rundown, and now I'm gonna go head over and take one for myself. So obviously I can't bring my camera in there, that's why we went the other day, but I'm gonna go and share my experience in a proper Peoplehood experience. So let's head over there and I will tell you my first impressions and everything you need to know about how it goes. All right, I just got out of the shower and I wanted to talk through that experience because it truly, first of all, I've never felt so calm. Like after it, I walked out of there with such a peace and calmness about me. And I thought I was gonna walk out of there kind of like how you feel after therapy, but there's something so much more than just like, oh, I vented, you know, group therapy, goodbye. Like then you kind of move on with your day. At least for me, when I hang up with my therapist, I move on for my day. There was something in this that was so much more about human connection and active listening and analyzing your own kind of how you interact with the world and how you interact with other people. You walked in, we all gathered. It was 6 people around a circle. And it started with breath work, meditation, visualization, grounding into the space. So everyone's eyes were closed. They led us through breath work with some beautiful like sound healing type of music in the back. We opened our eyes and everyone took a piece of paper, and you can go anywhere in the room. Some people like went on a pillow on the ground, whatever. And you had 3 minutes of stream of consciousness. How do you talk to yourself was the prompt. And she was like, just keep writing, even if what you're writing makes no sense, like just keep writing. So it was a lot about like self-talk, positive talk, all that kind of stuff. And then we regrouped, you don't share it with anyone. And then we did 2 breakouts, which means you and one other person go to any corner of the room and you each get 3 minutes to hold space for one another by answering the prompt to each other. And the only ways that you guys can communicate in the gather is either snapping, if you want to say like, good job, congrats, yay, whatever, as a reaction to what someone's saying, or you can go like this, which means like, oh, heartwarming, I'm with you, whatever. The first prompt of me and this person was, what is not helpful? You are looking each other in the eyes across from each other, and you're not allowed to react. You're not allowed to interject. If someone, you know, pauses and regroups or just like, you know, can't get their words out, you don't get to jump in. You don't get to say, oh, me too. You don't react at all other than this or this. And then after those 3 minutes are up, you can only say thank you for sharing and thank you for listening, and you switch, and the other person goes for 3 minutes. So when you're listening, it kind of teaches you about yourself and like your usual tendencies to kind of fill silence, fill the space, maybe talk about yourself and whatnot. And then when you're the one speaking, their presence and not trying to cut you off or chime in or whatever and just active listening makes you feel so seen and heard, and that tells you a lot as well. So we regrouped, and then we did a breakout session with a new person, and that one was, what can you celebrate about yourself? And what I found so interesting about this one was that me and my partner both were like, when we started our, 3 minutes, like, I'm cringing. And that was just interesting in itself, that like we were both kind of cringing over celebrating ourselves. What I learned from all of this was we're all sharing in this human experience. We're all in this thing called life. We're all feeling the same emotions, maybe with different, circumstances or packaging or whatever, but I just left for the rest of my day looking around at everyone on the streets of New York City, just feeling like we're all one. We're all kind of the same in a lot of ways. We experience different circumstances and whatnot, but we're experiencing similar feelings. And if we just gave each other the opportunity to like listen to each other for once, maybe we would know that and feel a little bit more normal ourselves and more connected to other people. And it's just crazy, like all this is flowing out of me just from that one experience. So we all kind of came together and shared these sentiments, like, what did you learn from today? What did you learn from your session? You don't have to say, you know, who your partner was or which one you're referring to, just what did you learn from it? And a lot of us just walked away with feeling like that was really powerful. I thought it was gonna be more like group therapy. I thought it was gonna be really cringe. I thought I was gonna walk out and be like, okay, I'm never doing that again. Like, I'm being completely honest. I thought I was just walk out of that being like, why would anyone pay for that? But I get it. Like, there was something about feeling so connected to a stranger that was so powerful. So if you're looking for that kind of connection in your life, they have virtual sessions too. Go to a Peoplehood near you, go to a virtual session and just connect. It is a beautiful thing, so I absolutely loved it. Subscribe if you're new, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If there's any other experiences that you guys are curious about in the wellness space, please comment them down below so I can try them out for my next episode of Wellness Unfiltered. And comment down below if you think this is something that you would be interested in or too cringed out by, because I would love to know. My perspective has totally changed. I definitely thought it was like a gimmicky thing, but that was a really beautiful experience. So let me know your thoughts below. Mwah.